It's a starry language war and has turned now into a big political showdown. After one of the superstars of the Hindi film industry, Ajay Devgn, and also Kiccha Sudeep locked horns, Chief Minister Bomai came out in support of the South superstar Sudeep, saying his statement is correct and must be respected. He went on to say that the states were formed because of languages. Meanwhile, protests have erupted in Bengaluru city against Ajay Devgn over this ongoing language war. Earlier, former Karnataka Chief Minister H.D. Kumaraswamy trained guns at actor Ajay Devgn, calling him a BJP mouthpiece for the Hindi nationalism and One India, One Language campaign. But upping the ante against considering Hindi as the national language, Kumaraswamy said, and I quote him here, "There is no fault in Kannada actor Sudeep's statement, and Ajay Devgn is not only hyper in nature, but also shows his ludicrous behavior through these statements," unquote. After Kumaraswamy, Karnataka minister has waded into this language war. Minister Ashwath Narayan said, I quote him here, "By hating Hindi, we cannot promote our language," unquote. So from the stars to the political stars.
ಸುದೀಪ್ ಅವರು ಹೇಳಿರುವಂತದ್ದು ಸರಿ ಇದೆ. ನಮ್ಮ ರಾಜ್ಯಗಳು ಭಾಷಾವಾರ ಪ್ರಾಂತ್ಯಗಳಾದ ಮೇಲೆ ಆ ರಾಜ್ಯಗಳಲ್ಲಿ ರೀಜನಲ್ ಲ್ಯಾಂಗ್ವೇಜ್ ಅಂತಂದರೆ ಮಾತೃಭಾಷೆಗಳಿಗೆ ಮಹತ್ವ ಇದೆ. ಅದೇ ಸಾರ್ವಭೌಮ. ಅದೇ ವಿಚಾರವನ್ನು ಸುನೀಲ್ ಅವರು ಹೇಳಿದ್ದಾರೆ, ಸುದೀಪ್ ಅವರು ಹೇಳಿದ್ದಾರೆ. ಸುದೀಪ್ ಅವರು ಹೇಳಿರುವಂಥ ವಿಚಾರ ಸರಿ ಇದೆ. ಇದನ್ನೆಲ್ಲರೂ ಕೂಡ ಮನಗಾಣಬೇಕು ಮತ್ತು ರೆಸ್ಪೆಕ್ಟ್ ಕೊಡಬೇಕು.
Hating any other language or opposing any language doesn't mean anything. You love your language, promote your language, work for it, and without, causing any kind of hatredness against any other language, instead of English being promoted, Hindi should be promoted because it's our own language. Instead of hating Hindi or any other language doesn't mean anything. That shows the attitude or the thought.
ಹಿಂದಿ ರಾಷ್ಟ್ರೀಯ ಭಾಷೆಯ ವಿಷಯಕ್ಕೆ ಸಂಬಂಧಪಟ್ಟಾಗಿ ಈಗಾಗಲೇ ನಾನು ನಿನ್ನೆ ಒಂದು ಟ್ವೀಟ್ ಮಾಡಿದ್ದೇನೆ. ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಈ ರೀತಿಯ ವಿಷಯಗಳನ್ನು ಪದೇ ಪದೇ ಕೇಳಿರ್ತಕ್ಕಂಥ ಮುಖಾಂತರ ಸಮಾಜದ ಸಾಮರಸ್ಯ ಹಾಳಾಗೋದು ಬೇಡ. ಇಲ್ಲಿ ದೇಶದ ರಚನೆ ಆಗಿರ್ತಕ್ಕಂಥದ್ದೇ ಹಲವಾರು ಭಾಷೆಗಳ ಆಧಾರದ ಮೇಲೆ ಆಯಾ ರಾಜ್ಯಗಳ ರಚನೆ ಆಗಿರ್ತಕ್ಕಂಥದ್ದೇನಿದೆ. ಈ ಪ್ರಜಾಪ್ರಭುತ್ವದ ಒಕ್ಕೂಟದ ವ್ಯವಸ್ಥೆಗೆ ಈ ರೀತಿಯ ವಿಷಯಗಳನ್ನು ಪದೇ ಪದೇ ಚರ್ಚೆ ಮಾಡಿ ಮತ್ತು ರಾಷ್ಟ್ರೀಯ ಭಾವೈಕ್ಯತೆಗೆ ಮತ್ತು ಪ್ರಜಾಪ್ರಭುತ್ವದ ಒಕ್ಕೂಟದ ವ್ಯವಸ್ಥೆಗೆ ಧಕ್ಕೆ ಉಂಟಾಗ್ತಕ್ಕಂಥದ್ದಕ್ಕೆ ಅವಕಾಶಗಳು ಯಾರೂ ಕೊಡಬಾರದು ಅಂತಕ್ಕಂಥ ನನ್ನ ಅಭಿಪ್ರಾಯ.
हिंदी वॉज नेवर द नेशनल लैंग्वेज. सबसे पहले बात ये समझाना चाहूंगी, हमारा जो देश है एक डाइवर्स देश है और उस देश में अलग अलग लैंग्वेजेस हैं. मराठी हो, बंगाली हो, कन्नड़ा हो, तमिल हो, तेलुगु हो, ये सारी ऑफिशियल लैंग्वेजेस के अंतर्गत आती हैं और वो हमारे कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन ने उनको ऑफिशियल लैंग्वेज का स्टेटस दिया है. तो मैं बस यही उम्मीद करूंगी अजय देवगन जी इससे अवगत होंगे, उनको कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन की ज्यादा जानकारी हो सकता है इस मुद्दे पे ना हो, पर ये ऑफिशियल लैंग्वेज की कैटेगरी में हिंदी आता है जैसे कि बाकी सारे भाषा आती हैं.
Here today spoke to former Kannada actor Divya Spandana on the ongoing language war of words. Listen into what she has to say.
Ramya, you have seen what exactly has happened. Sudeep, actor who is one of the leading stars in Kannada industry, has said that why does the North consider southern languages as pan-India when they do well? It should just be considered as a movie that is doing well. When a Bollywood movie does well in southern industry or southern areas, we don't say it as pan-India. We just say a movie which is doing well. What do you have to say about Ajay Devgn reiterating and hitting back at Sudeep saying Hindi is our national language? What is your take on this?
I agree with Sudeep actually. I don't think we should consider Hindi any different from any other regional language. Like Kannada, Hindi is also another language that Indians speak. So they're equal. Maybe there are some people who speak Hindi more, but that doesn't mean it's any less or, it is, all languages are equal. That's what I feel.
You also tweeted regarding this on your Twitter account, standing by Sudeep, in fact.
Sorry, can you repeat that? I didn't hear you.
You did tweet from your account standing by Sudeep and supporting his statements.
I did tweet in support of Sudeep's statement.
Yeah, yesterday you had tweeted saying that.
Yeah, that's correct.
Yes, please go on.
No, sorry, I didn't hear. What was the question, Ajay?
That you had tweeted yesterday in support of Sudeep's stand on this.
Correct, yes. I agree with you, right? Look, I think there should be respect for all languages. India is a very linguistic, diverse country, and there should be respect for all languages. And I don't think anyone should improve Hindi on any other language, and say you have to learn Hindi and you should only speak in Hindi. I don't agree with that. In fact, I think the beauty of this country is, that, we all speak different languages, we have different cultures. It's not in Karnataka, Kannada also dialect. Right? And we're so proud of it, and we accept and we kind of, respect each other. And that's what it should be. We can't say one language has to be imposed in, because see, language at the end of the day is your culture, your pride, it's who you are, it's your roots. So it's like you telling me, no more a Kannada, you have to speak Hindi, you have to adapt and adopt to the Hindi culture. It's not possible. You're taking away my identity. How is it possible? We don't tell Hindi people that you have to learn Kannada, you have to learn Tamil. No, we're not doing that. So why should you impose on that?
Do you think this is do you think this is just because of the language, or there is some fear that Kannada cinema, Telugu cinema, Tamil cinema is capturing the audience and the market in the northern part of the India? It started with Bahubali, RRR, KGF, Pushpa.
KGF, yeah.
Most of these movies have done crores of rupees of market in profit in northern cinema, especially the Hindi market. Do you think this also is creating a fear among these Hindi market actors?
See, they should believe in content, right? For example, every Thursday, Friday, I'm sorry, my dog. Every Thursday, Friday, there is a Hindi film releasing, right?
Yes.
Not all films are doing well at the box office. Why? Because of the context. Why is Pushpa or KGF or RRR, able to bring, box office like 100 crores and thousands of crores? Because of the content, and people are enjoying it, which is great, right? Cinema brings people closer, and language is no barrier for art. It's how it should be, right? For example, Hindi films, they know that South Indians, we don't speak much of Hindi, and therefore we don't watch much of Hindi, but they're also dubbing into regional languages. Why? Because you want, box office numbers, and they know the only way to do that is to speak to the language of the people. So I don't see what the issue is. I don't see why you should impose Hindi onto people, and especially in cinema. Language is not a barrier. It should be enjoyed, and please don't, bring politics into cinema. That's what I feel.
Ramya, final question. For a change in Karnataka, all the three party leaders, especially JDS, Congress, BJP, have stood by Sudeep, saying that what Sudeep said is right. The Chief Minister said he stands by Sudeep. Siddaramaiah, Kumaraswamy, both have said we all endorse Sudeep's sentiments and statements.
Amazing. I'm very happy. That's good now if all of us stand together and for our language. That's very important, because this is our pride, and we must not allow people to so casually, just impose any other language on us. And I believe the same with Tamil, Malayalam, Telugu, Marathi, Gujarati, whatever it may be. For example, our Prime Minister, he's a Gujarati, he speaks in Hindi. He tweets in English, sometimes like today he even tweeted in Japanese. That's the kind of acceptability we should have. Open mind. I'm surprised because people have respect, of his stature to make socially responsible statements. It's not even factually right what he said, So you can't make very trivial statements like that. You should be responsible. And it's like the Constitution. How can you disregard the Constitution? It takes volumes of the ignorance, and that's what really surprises me. It's because you can't be such a casual, making a casual remark like that is disrespectful to all of us.
Absolutely.
And I think that after you should be sensitive to, the different languages, the cultures, and you should be so proud that you're a part of, this country that is so linguistically diverse.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Ramya, for speaking to India today.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Nagarjun.
Thank you.
Okay.
Also, India Today's Akshita Nandagopal spoke to singer Srinivas on the ongoing language divide, and that has clearly divided opinions across the country. Here's what the singer had to say.
Mr. Srinivas, I just want to read out the tweet that you put out yesterday. To Ajay Devgn's tweet in Hindi, you have said, "Sir, Hindi is our national language, like you are the Prime Minister of India." I'm sure everyone has figured what exactly you have to say about this, but just break down for us, what was the thought that came through you when you saw Ajay Devgn's tweet there in Hindi saying, "Hindi is our national language, hamara rashtra bhasha hai."
Hara Rashtra Bhasha hai, rahega, all that he said. And then he also said, Jana Gana Mana. So look at the irony of it. Jana Gana Mana is, I think it's in Bengali. Yeah. Am I right? So there it goes. And, you know, so he is, we can talk of facts or we can talk about the absolute truth. Let's not talk about the absolute truth and all that here. This is not the place for that. But when you talk of facts, we have accepted the Constitution. And these have been laid down by our founding fathers who've really thought about it. And Hindi is just one of the official languages, along with so many other languages like Tamil, Kannada, Malayalam, and everything else. And there is a reason why this has been done. Hindi, of course, I love Hindi songs. I'm a huge Kishore Kumar fan. Kishore Kumar, Mohammad Rafi, they all taught me Hindi. That's me. But go down to a shopkeeper in Tanjore and try to speak to him in Hindi. He won't understand the language. Why do you want to force Hindi upon somebody? So don't say it's a national language just because it's like a frog in the well statement from Mr. Devgan. I'm sorry to say. It is not based on facts. Anything that's based on facts, we'll accept. But this is not based on a fact.
Yeah.
Let's talk facts.
You've sung in so many languages, Hindi also. You've sung in Tamil, in Kannada, in Hindi, to name a few. So for anyone who says and asks, is there a hatred for Hindi? Is that where this entire controversy stems from? What's your response to that?
I don't think, see, again, the biggest language of communication is not Hindi, English, Tamil or anything else. The greatest language of communication amongst human beings is love and compassion. So there's no scope for hatred here, but then hate it happens. It happens. You know, people just get, they overreact to all this. Mr. Devgan also has overreacted to this. So there is also an element of, hate in that. So hate begets hate. So which is why I think you have to cool down tempers and speak like normal people, normal human beings. That's all. And why are we talking in English today? 200 years we've been ruled by the English. And today, India is ahead of so many other places, so many other countries, because most of us, many of us educated people speak English. And English is the lingua franca of the world. You can go to Paris also, and you can still get away with English or anything else. So I would say, and every scientific document, science is truth. I was talking about facts and truth. Science is the truth, ultimate truth. It's not Bollywood, not Hollywood, Tollywood, nothing. Science is the truth.
Do you believe, sir, that
science,
there is a bias?
So let me finish this.
Yeah.
Science. So if scientific, most of the scientific documents are in English, and it's better that as a country of so many languages, we have so many languages and dialects, we just let English has worked perfectly well. Why aim to fix that's not broken? Why do you want to break it?
Yeah.
It's fine. It's all going so well. Why do you want to do this imposition? That is what I want to say. Don't impose.
Yeah.
Don't talk to anybody from a pedestal. Talk as an equal. Everyone will understand. Everyone understands the language of love.
Mr. Srinivas, before I let you go, you teased us and you put out a lovely message of unity. So if you could just sing one song for us, any language that you believe will actually unite the country. And I'm sure, the language really doesn't matter at the end of the day.
Yeah, so it goes like maybe भारत हमको जान से प्यारा है तमिळा तमिळा नाळे नम नाळे. That's it.
Lovely, lovely. Thank you so much, Mr. Srinivas. And that's a message I'm sure the entire nation is listening to. Thank you very much for taking the time out and joining us here on India Today.
Remember, it has become now a clash of the titans. It is a war on social media site Twitter for now, but has sparked a controversy over the national language debate. On the two sides, actor Ajay Devgn and Kannada superstar Kiccha Sudeep locking horns over debating on the Hindi being the national language. From the film industry to politicians, it's clearly a fiery and a starry fight gaining everyone's attention and turning political. Let's bring you now how Nabila Jamal in detail explains of how this fight unfolded and where is it right now.
Hindi is no more national language. So which is the national language today? Which is the national language?
No national language.
Correct. So what is pan-India? So which is having a better reaction from the audiences today? ಇವತ್ತು ನೀವು ಪುಷ್ಪ ತಗೊಳ್ಳಿ, ನೀವು KGF ತಗೊಳ್ಳಿ, ನಾನು ಕೇಳ್ತಾ ಇರೋದು ಇವರೆಲ್ಲ ಪ್ರಯತ್ನ ಪಟ್ಟರು, ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ಗೆದ್ರು. ಪ್ಯಾನ್ ಇಂಡಿಯಾ ಅನ್ನೋದು ಇಟ್ಸ್ ಆಕ್ಚುಲಿ ಐ ಥಿಂಕ್ ವಿ ಶುಡ್ ಡಿಲೀಟ್ ದಟ್ term everywhere.
We've got a big breaking story coming in between Bollywood and the Kannada film industry. It's a huge superstar language war that has now erupted between Kannada superstar Kiccha Sudeep and Bollywood star Ajay Devgn. This is already a very sensitive issue, but to call South cinema that does well in the North pan-India has clearly touched a raw nerve. So, Sudeep reacting in this way is in some senses pretty understandable at this time. Nabila.
Shiv, what we see of the southern stars and the frustration that comes is from this constant imposition of Hindi to be pushed as a national language. From what we hear from the actors of the south, which they say time and again, is that they're not against the language of Hindi at all. They're just against the fact that there is a push for one language to become a national language. The same way if there's a push for Kannada to become a national language, you have the Hindi belt which will not be okay with it. That's the same way if you push for a Hindi, a North India language, a North Indian language to be considered as a national pan-India language, the South will not be okay with it. Kiccha Sudeep followed up with a sharp comeback on Twitter. Known to mince no words, Sudeep fired back, wondering if Ajay understood had Sudeep tweeted in Kannada.
Sir Ajay Devgn, I did understand the text you sent in Hindi. That's only because we all have respected, loved and learnt Hindi. No offence, sir, but was wondering what would the situation be if my response was typed in Kannada. Don't we too belong to India, sir?
Ajay Devgn finally tried to douse the fire, calling the controversy a message lost in translation. Karnataka leader of opposition Siddaramaiah pounced in, saying Hindi was never and will never be our national language. Former actor and politician Divya Spandana aka Ramya too joined in the bandwagon, attacking Ajay Devgn, calling his comments baffling.
No, Hindi is not our national language. Ajay Devgn, your ignorance is baffling. And it's great that films like KGF, Pushpa and RRR have done so well in the Hindi belt. Art has no language barrier. Please enjoy our films as much as we enjoy yours.
India Today's Karnataka Tak interview with Sudeep has sent ripples across the film and political circles, intensifying this never-ending debate on whether Hindi must be deemed as the national language in a linguistically diverse country like India. Nabila Jamal for India Today.
My colleague Akshita Nandagopal also spoke to a renowned actor Prakash Belawadi over this issue. Listen in to his reaction, and one who has also worked in the Hindi films and down south. Listen in.
You're someone who's worked on Hindi films, on Kannada films, on Tamil films, to name a few. So I'm curious to know what you have to say about this entire controversy and this Twitter exchange that's happened between Kiccha Sudeep and Ajay Devgn.
But two things occur to me. One is that it is a fact that Hindi is not a national language because there is no designated national language in India. But I think, Mr. Devgn may have meant it emotionally that Hindi is an Indian language. In that way, I would say all the 22 languages in the 8th schedule and all the languages that are yet to be scheduled, they're all national languages. Every Indian language in India should be treated as a national language. I'm sorry to say this, I don't want to hurt anybody. To me, it looks like these are also a little bit of turf wars, that who is actually gaining foothold in which market kind of thing also this may be. For long, we have watched the Hindi films, in the South, certainly in Bangalore. I think, sometimes Hindi films enjoyed a bigger market than the Kannada films themselves.
Very true.
I know that, when one of Rajesh Khanna's films was released, there was a huge crowd. I think some 2 million people gathered around Vidhana Sauda. I think it was Andaz, one of these films. So we have worshipped the stars of Bollywood before it was called Bollywood. I think to convert this into an identity battle of your language and my language is ridiculous.
I tend to completely agree with you, because what immediately strikes me, Mr. Belawadi, is the fact that, you have so many films now like RRR, KGF 2, Pushpa doing so well that it's very clear that for fans there's no longer a language barrier. But it looks like within the industry, and I'm sure you can tell us more about that, is there a problem about this whole language issue? Are people in the industry touchy about it?
No, I do. I mean, I'm a Kannadiga, and for me, I've always supported dubbing. For a long time, Kannada, many powerful stars as well actually have been opposing dubbing into the Kannada language. Okay, I have always opposed it. I feel that dubbing should be allowed across India. Now, when South films get dubbed in Hindi and they're doing very well, I think it becomes a morally awkward thing for Kannada stars to talk about, saying we won't allow dubbing. Now, of course, they can't say anything because the Competition Commission of India has ruled in favor of dubbing. So, I feel many times the real fallacy in this matter is that India is blessed with many languages, and, cinema should be seen primarily as a visual medium, and the language is just nominal in that. These people, when they talk about the language, I think they mean their film market. That is the problem, because I think many of these issues are not really identity issues, they're issues of turf, like I said before.
Yeah.
And so people feel encroached upon, and they feel annoyed if you say we won't allow dubbing and you dub and it does very well somewhere else. So I think we should really let it go at this stage, because it can, how in India there are so many fault lines, then it will become, North India versus South India, then, Dravida versus Arya and so on. We can go on endless rubbish of, just othering each other. So I think we should let it go. I don't think, I was told that Sudeep's original tweet said that, why don't you call in South Indian films also as Indian films? Why is only Hindi Indian film? I think something like that he said. And I agree with that. And I think that the people are establishing, the crowds are coming to watch, the Telugu films primarily, which are big budget films. And also now, due to OTT Malayalam films and thankfully Kannada films also. So we have a population of 136 crores. There is enough for all of us, I think. I think we should stop quarreling on identity issues. We should welcome good cinema from anywhere.
But the battle is clearly raging on over the language and has taken center stage once again. But this time, this is about film stars indulging on social media about the language war. Remember, with the most recent high-profile showdown between Hindi superstar Ajay Devgn and South superstar Kiccha Sudeep, this spat has now turned into a bigger north-south divide controversy. tracing its roots to many fierce, high-profile wars over language in the past as well. Take a look now how, in the past as well, this has been a national debate.
Hindi is no more national language. So which is the national language today? Which is the national language?
No national language.
Correct? So what is pan-India? So which is having a better reaction from the audiences today? ಇವತ್ತು ನೀವು ಪುಷ್ಪ ತಗೊಳ್ಳಿ, ನೀವು KGF ತಗೊಳ್ಳಿ, ನಾನು ಕೇಳ್ತಾ ಇರೋದು.
I'll be very honest. I can't speak much. I can manage to speak, but I definitely know my Hindi is not good enough to, communicate very efficiently. I'm open if there's any great offer or if there's any nice film on my way. I'm definitely open to do a nice Hindi film, a multi-language film. I'm open.
I don't want to go and act in all the industries. I would like to explore. I would like to explore the work culture in every industry, and I would like to learn a lot from all the actors and technicians from all the industries across the globe. But I think I can perform the best in Malayalam.
I think everyone can watch the film from anywhere in the world, any language, with the subtitles, and people are enjoying. So I think now the priority should not be about working in Bollywood or Tollywood or any other industry. I think priority should be about making great content.
Hindi is no more national language.
The reactions we see today aren't knee-jerk. There's been a palpable sentiment about the language row for years now, ignored largely so far.
So which is having a better reaction from the audiences today?
Music maestro A.R. Rahman, for example, has never shied away from professing his love for Tamil and taking on any attempt at Hindi imposition. Even recently putting out his tweet purportedly in response to Home Minister Amit Shah's comment on Hindi being the connecting language.
சார் இந்த ஹிந்தி சம்பந்தமா சார் மத்திய அமைச்சர் வந்து இந்த ஹிந்தி சம்பந்தமா சொல்லியிருக்காரு, இனிப்பு மொழியா இருக்கணும்னு சொல்லிட்டு.
The root of the language debate is in the political back and forth between North Indian and South Indian parties for decades now. And several South stars who usually stay away from controversies have spoken out on this one, clearly backing the stance that Hindi cannot be imposed on anyone. This is just the beginning of superstars now joining the anti-imposition stir, and it looks like Bollywood stars too are bracing in for a big fight.
Now remember, this is India Today's news break and has now sparked a national debate on the language war. There are netas, actors, all of them are talking about it. India Today's Nabila Jamal then had a conversation also with actor Priyanka Upendra. Listen in to what she's saying about this ongoing language war.
All right, let me quickly cut across to Priyanka Upendra, who's an actor. She's worked across industries. She's married to a South Indian. Upendra is a Kannada superstar. She herself has acted in the Hindi film industry as well. Priyanka, thank you very much for speaking to India Today. You're looking lovely.
Thank you. Hi.
We're looking at this debate that's erupted from Karnataka post the India Today Karnataka Tak's interview with Sudeep, where he said, Hindi is no more the national language, considering that South films are doing enormously well in terms of revenue generation, are being valued a lot more than Hindi films in the Hindi market. So what is the national language today? There is no national language. And now this, of course, has rubbed a few of them the wrong way. Ajay Devgn slamming, saying, no, Hindi is indeed our national language. It will always be our national language. Your take on that? You're a North Indian, married to a South Indian.
Yes, very much. I actually speak both Hindi and Kannada.
Yeah.
My kids speak Hindi, Kannada and Bengali. So, I've grown up abroad. So, I've had a very flexible upbringing in that sense. But definitely, I think what Sudeep wanted to say was that today with South Indian films, crossing barriers, in a sense, regional barriers have been crossed, and all over India and all over the world, people are watching, South Indian languages. I think he just felt proud about that fact of recently. I think RRR and KGF, of course, we are so proud of those films doing well everywhere. Even in West Bengal, KGF has done immensely well, is doing immensely well. So I think what he meant was that their language isn't a barrier anymore. Like everybody loves watching cinema, and everybody loves watching all kinds of language cinema today. So I have actually worked in almost all the regional industries. I've worked in Hindi, I've worked in Tamil, Telugu, Kannada, Bengali, Oriya. So for me, actually, it's never been a barrier. I always love learning new languages. And, I take pride in speaking Kannada. Nange Kannada tumbane ishta. Nanilli almost 19 ವರ್ಷದಿಂದ I'm in Karnataka. So, ಬಹಳ ನನ್ನ ಮಕ್ಕಳು ಕನ್ನಡ ಮಾತಾಡ್ತಾರೆ, ನಾವು ಕನ್ನಡ ಮಾತಾಡ್ತೀವಿ. So, I'm very happy to speak Kannada. ನನಗೆ ತುಂಬಾ ಖುಷಿ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ. I have learned Hindi. My actually grandparents are from Mehlabad, that side, Pakur. So, aurella, they used to speak Hindi, and I learned Hindi as a second language. So, I think that I don't know what the debate is if it's about language, because I think we are all Indians, and I think that we should all just celebrate being Indian, and just that our movies are going all over the world and creating a ripple. I think we are one big Indian film industry now.
Let me quickly cut across to Harshika Purnacha, who's also joining us. We have Indrajit Lankesh. Harshika, you are a star in the Kannada film industry, but given an opportunity, you definitely jump on an opportunity if it came from Bollywood. You've in fact even done something in different languages. What do you think as Hindi as a unifying language? Can you give a status to one language in a country as diverse as ours, to be the national language, to be crowned as the national language?
Right. Hi, Nabila. I would just go with what Priyanka ma'am just spoke, because I exactly fall in the same place where Priyanka ma'am is, because even she's worked in so many industries and I've also worked in so many languages. I've acted in 8 languages, like Kannada, Tamil, Telugu, Malayalam, Tulu, Konkani, Kodava, Bhojpuri. Wow. So Bhojpuri is my 8th language. So it's definitely been, language has been never been a barrier for me, and it's always been a bridge. I've become close to people from Tamil, people from Telugu, and Kannada, of course. I've been here since 12 years now. So language has always brought people to me, brought people together, given me more fans, given me more love, and I would never make language a barrier in my life. And this is like the most difficult topic I could talk about, because I always
do you consider Hindi as a link language? Do you look at Hindi as one common link language?
Definitely when it goes to North. Now, when I started working in Bhojpuri industries, obviously I cannot start off with Bhojpuri. I cannot start talking Bhojpuri on day one. So I initially started talking in Hindi, and that's how I connected to those people. And after I learned Bhojpuri, bits and pieces, I started talking in Bhojpuri. So I think language has always been, something which connects people. And Hindi, yes, of course, when you go to the North, people there obviously understand Hindi, so you need to speak Hindi there. And again, when you come to Karnataka, illi Kannada maatadlebeku, Kannada gottirlebeku. So il bandorella Kannada kaltkoltare. And the funny part is, everyone who comes to Bangalore, they think that people will come here and learn Kannada, but end of the day, all Kannadigas will learn the other languages.
Yeah, so really, that shows how accommodating Kannadigas are, and even generally people of the South have learned Hindi mostly through Bollywood films, which at one point was such a huge industry, and we ardently watched Bollywood films, and people, I think that's how the South Indians know Hindi so well. Today we're seeing the same kind of money and this huge industries even down south, and that's why we see that people of the North are now getting slowly sensitized to the movies of the South and languages of the South.